Rule of thirds, rule of thirds, rule of thirds. Now, there's this thing called shot composition. I'm the main subject of the video, but I'm not sitting dead center on the camera. I'm offset by about a third. Even some foreground elements here are offset by a third. You know, the truck here is offset by a third, those sorts of things. See, it doesn't look right. It looks unnatural. It looks weird. It looks contrived. It looks fake. You don't put your main subject in the very middle of the lens. Think of a tic-tac-toe grid. Either it needs to be a little off to the third, side by a third, the other side by a third, or the top or the bottom. See, just think about it. You know, as you're sitting there, wherever you are, just look around. What is actually dead center in front of your eye, between your eyeballs? Almost nothing. Almost everything is either over here or up here or down here or over there. Asymmetry is a perfectly natural thing. We know something's man-made because it's all perfectly symmetrical. You don't see perfectly symmetrical trees or perfectly symmetrical hills or perfectly symmetrical mountains. Asymmetry makes it look more natural. See how that's just dead center? It doesn't really look all that great, right? It's just a regular old picture. Exactly the same shot. All we did was move over like literally 2 feet. And now we have a strong third composition here. Okay, here's a third composition as well, except the third is in the bottom part of the screen. We got a little bit closer up and we just went lower. The shot, the main subject, the boat, is in the bottom third of the photo. Again, here's the gas tank. You've seen this tank before, dead on center. Well, it just looks, well, yeah, it's a gas tank, but you know, you don't even realize that there's something unnatural about that. Same gas tank, now that looks a whole lot more natural, a lot more intimate, a lot more involved. It's slightly closer in, but not by much. You know, all I did was, I'm just resting my hands on the boat so I don't hurt my back. But we got a strong left composition here on this strong rule of thirds. You don't even realize that's what it is, but it does. Your brain says, oh, I know what that is. And it's a lot more comfortable. Okay, you've seen my favorite handline reel there, right dead in the middle of the screen. It's there, you know it, but it's like, whatever, right? I don't care. Same stinking handline, it's just the rule of thirds is on the top. Looks far more interesting because you got a little bit of foreground element there. But the main thing, the main subject is in the top third of the screen, not dead center. You know, just imagine a tic-tac-toe block, and your camera should have a tic-tac-toe grid to it, and you can literally just keep it out of the center portion or the center crosshairs or the center blocks, depending on how your grid is laid out. Okay, here's the junky bed of my pickup truck. Old jack and those old things there. Still same thing. That jack is in the left third. The jugs there are in the top third, and it's actually pretty neat. And even you have that foreground element with that oak branch there in the bottom third. So strong rule of thirds composition all around there, and it's just much more inviting. It looks much more real. It looks like, whoa, this is a real picture. Okay, so here's the last engine I blew up. Whatever, and it's just a hunk of metal, right? Now, all of a sudden, all we did was move the camera literally like, 3 inches. Far more interesting picture. Again, we have some foreground and background elements naturally, but when you put things in a strong rule of thirds composition like this, you have some natural foreground and background elements that make the image, what would otherwise be a static image, far more dynamic. Although I'm sitting in the boat, you'll see that the camera is offset, and I'm sitting usually off to the right side of the screen. That's for a reason. Okay, here's the boat here from the front, from the bow. All dead in the middle, right? It's like whatever, it's just another boat, you know. Now this is far more interesting, right? There's another shot, right, it's on the strong rule of thirds based on the paddle there. Same shot, same boat, we just moved the camera about 3 inches, and once again we have a far more interesting shot here. Instead of just having this boring boat, you actually had something very interesting. Okay, here are my catfish jugs. You've seen these a bunch of times. What's special about it? Not much, right? This is far more interesting. You have this foreground element of the cooler, and you have the jugs themselves. Far more interesting. Far more delightful for your eyes to look at. It just looks real. They're just, I don't understand it. Nobody knows why this works, but rule of thirds work. Okay, so there's some good shots there, so go and try that. Do that in your photography, do that in your videos, do it in your fishing videos. Whenever you shoot anything, make sure it's offset by a third above or below, left or right. It's one of those subtle things that most people don't know is at work, and people will watch longer and subscribe and do all the things you want them to do for your YouTube channel. So go do that, and I'll see you later.